Happy Splatoween! It's a worldwide Halloween Splatfest. In this corner, the spirit of mischief and light-hearted vandalism, Team Trick! Versus the spirit of partying and eating enormous amounts of candy, Team Tree! Hey Marina? What is up for a boom? Ah! Gotcha! But the best part of Halloween is dressing up however you want and scaring people. Like last year, I dressed up as a mummified vampire. Really? I thought you dressed up as a roll of toilet paper. Hey, speaking of toilet paper, let's go TP Sheldon's house after work. Chill out, Pearl. It's not even Halloween yet. And besides, I'm not really into playing tricks. I'd rather get together with friends and gorge myself on sweet treats. Please tell me you don't still go trick-or-treating, Marina. Seriously? You are a grown woman! The house down the street gives out king-size candy bars. Alright, fair enough. By the way, did you hear that this Splatfest is 48 hours long? Yeah, and I heard they're going to be decorating the square and giving out gear. It's time to decide. Are you Team Trick or are you Team Treat? Head over to the Splatfest terminal and pick a side. And that's all the time we've got. Until next time, don't get cooked, stay off the hook. Hello everybody, it's Akira to you, and welcome back to Let's Play Splatoon 2 Splatfest. And in case you couldn't tell by that super awesome level loading screen, this is a very noteworthy Splatfest. This is a trick versus treat. Easily one of my favorite Splatfests that they have ever done in the Splatoon games. This is probably like within my top 3 favorites. And we'll go over the other ones a little bit later in the series, but as for right now, this one is pretty awesome. And this one actually got a Splatfest rematch in 2020. We'll be going over that a little bit later in this episode, but as for right now, let's talk about the 2018 version. So, Trick vs. Treat was, of course, a Halloween-themed Splatfest, so of course there has to be decorations all over the place. So, across Inkopolis Square, there were some various glow-in-the-dark effects on things like graffiti, and you can even somewhat see it on the ink in the turf wars as well. It's not very noticeable, but the ink definitely is just a little bit different here. I don't know if this effect works in private battles or anything like that if you try playing it nowadays, but I know for a fact that it's an effect that is happening right now. As for the dates that this Splatfest took place, the 2018 version happened from October 19th, 2018 through October 21st, 2018, and the rematch happened from October 30th, 2020 through November 1st, 2020. Now, the rematch wasn't that different from the original version. We did stream the entirety of the thing with Gaming with Pi back when it was happening, so if you'd like to go check that out, we'll have a card on the corner of the screen. That was also one of my favorite Splatfest streams we ever did, so I highly recommend you could check that one out if you'd like at some point. So, like I said, there really wasn't that much of a difference between them. In fact, something really cool that they did was that the special gear that you got during the Splatfest actually got redistributed during the rematch. So, the Nintendo Switch has a feature called Switch News, which will allow you to watch some new trailers for upcoming Switch games and just in general keep up with what's happening in the near future for the Switch. It's a pretty interesting feature, and the best part about it is definitely some of the writing they have on some of the news things. Like I think we demonstrated the fork versus spoon thing during that episode. But one of the cool things was that during the promotional news thingy that they did for the Trick vs. Treat Splatfest, they distributed gear using the Switch News thing. So there were 4 pieces of gear you could get. There was the cute I apologize if I mispronounced this. The Kyunji hat. I definitely mispronounced that. This is based off a interesting Chinese vampire called the Jiangshi. And I mispronounced that too. I am very sorry. I am bad at pronouncing things. There were also some other things as well. There was the Yellow Devil horns, the hockey mask, which was based off Friday the 13th, and the Angler mask, which were all pretty interesting and things like that. I will say that the hockey mask seems just a little bit out of place in this game, personally speaking, but it's still a pretty interesting piece of armor. I never really used any of these myself, but they're still pretty nice. And speaking of nice, I gotta say, I love this color. I love purple in general. It's honestly one of my favorite colors ever, but this is like my exact favorite shade of purple. So I'm really happy that this is the one that they used for Team Treat. One of my absolute favorite things that came out of the Trick vs. Treat Splatfest has to be the colors for Marina and Pearl's outfits during the Splatfest. They always look great, and I always love how their outfits change colors depending on the Splatfest theme and things like that. This is honestly one of my more personal favorites because they're cosplaying as the other Off the Hook member. That is just all kinds of awesome. Like, Pearl is cosplaying as Marina, and Marina's cosplaying as Pearl. It is so cool. And honestly, Marina looks freaking hot during this. Marina, I'm not shy about admitting that I'm not shy at admitting that I absolutely love Marina, and this is easily one of my favorite outfits that she ever had in these Splatoon games. So that was pretty fun. A couple other interesting details. Well, first of all, this is the Shifted Station layout for this Splatfest. I believe this same layout happened during the 2020 rematch as well. I believe that the rematches did reuse the original Shifty Station layouts. Thankfully, they didn't have new ones during the rematches, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because that means I don't have to have additional episodes for each rematch. I had it all planned out to end on episode 100, so I'm really happy that there wasn't that much that was different with the rematches, but we'll get into stories about that a little bit later in the Let's Play. And speaking of which, this episode itself is actually kind of a big milestone because it's episode 90. 90 episodes of Splatoon 2. That's honestly very insane. And we're getting really close to the end now. So some other fun details about this. So the Splatfest moon that happened during the Retro versus Modern, or the Japanese equivalent Splatfest, can actually be seen in the background of this one too. And I think I talked about this in the previous episode, but a really cool detail about that is that you can actually see that the moon still has I think it's supposed to be like a squid figure on there because there's this Japanese folktale about a design on the moon that looks like a rabbit, like a crater that looks like a rabbit. And that's where a lot of Japanese mythological stories come from. I believe in Splatoon it's supposed to look more like a squid because obviously it's Splatoon, so it has to be squid themed, so it's pretty fun. Another noteworthy thing about the rematches, before we stop talking about those forever, at least until next time we bring it up, is the fact that the rematches are kind of considered non-canon in Splatoon lore. So even though they did happen in real life and things like that, they're not really considered part of the main story, because believe it or not, Splatoon, the Splatfest, actually contribute to the overall Splatoon story in a huge and major way. So, for example, the last Splatfest from the first game greatly influenced this game, and Splatoon 3 isn't out yet, but it's heavy speculation that the results of this game's final Splatfest also is going to be influencing Splatoon 3. We don't know that for sure yet, but it's just speculation based off theories and all that fun stuff. We'll get into the reason why the rematches are considered non-canon a little bit later, because there's another Splatfest that happens towards the end that kind of contributes more to what I have to say about this than this Splatfest does. And also because I didn't mention it. Thank you, James, for recording this for me. Sweet victory, yeah. That's how you do it, Team Treat. You bribed a little judge with candy, didn't you? Nope, Team Treat doesn't need cheap tricks to win. But don't worry, Pearl. I've got just the thing for that sour attitude of yours. I had Sheldon modify my attentive missile launcher to fire giant candy bars. I'm gonna be locking onto you non-stop until Halloween. If you participated in the Splatfest series, prizes are waiting in the square. Now before we end off this video, there is one more thing I'd like to talk about with Trick vs. Treat. Now this is going to involve us replaying through the opening cutscene of this, so that might be a little bit confusing at first, but there's a very specific reason why. This is something that we made during the Trick vs. Treat rematch stream, and because I wanted to archive it in a place that was more easily accessible to people curious about these things, I wanted to put it in this video. So thank you to everybody involved in making this clip. You are all super awesome. You know who you are.
Y'all know what time it is.
It's Off the Hook, coming at you live from Egopolis Square.
Yo, Marina, tell the people the good news before we introduce the stages.
Huh? Like right now? What was the good news again?
You know, the single most important celebration of our culture, the...
The Splatfest!
Ding, ding, ding! We've got a Splatfest coming up quick.
Splatfests always get my ink pumping. I've got to get my gear ready.
Yo, Marina, what's the Splatfest theme this time?
I'm too nervous to look. You do it.
Fine, the Splatfest theme is... What?
What is it, Pearly? What's the theme? Tell me!
Okay, here it comes. The Splatfest theme is... Happy Splatoween!
It's a worldwide Halloween Splatfest.
In this corner, the spirit of mischief and lighthearted vandalism. Team Trick!
Versus the spirit of partying and eating copious amount of candy. Team Treat!
Hey, Marina?
What is it, Pearl?
Gotcha! The best part of Halloween is dressing up however you want and scaring people. Like last year, I dressed up as a mummified vampire.
Really? I thought you dressed up as a roll of toilet paper.
Hey, speaking of toilet paper, let's go TP Sheldon's house after work.
Chill out, Pearl. It's not even Halloween yet. And besides, I'm not really into playing tricks. I'd rather get together with friends and gorge myself on sweet treats.
But please don't tell me you still go trick-or-treating, Marina. Seriously? You are a grown woman.
The house down the street gives out king-size candy bars.
Fair enough. By the way, did you hear that this Splatfest is 48 hours long? It's time to decide. Are you Team Trick or Team Treat?
Head over to the Splatfest terminal and pick a side.
And that's all the time we've got. Until next time, don't get cooked, stay off the hook.
So we're taking care of all that. We're in this video off here. So thank you all so much for watching this episode of Splatoon 2 Splatfest. It's still very hard to believe this is episode 90 already, and we only have 10 more of these things. It's very hard to believe it. But next episode will be November 2018 as we're taking care of Salsa vs. Guac. So thank you all so much for watching this episode. Until next time, leave the gear to you. Oh yeah.